Utter Worldie. In this episode called The Influence of Player Representation, I discussed with football agent Godfrey Torto how representation could contribute to player performance. Godfrey began his career at Chelsea F.C.'s academy and went on to play for several non-league clubs. He shares his insights into how representation can help optimise player performance and maximise player potential both on and off the field. We discuss topics such as contract negotiation, career guidance, sponsorship and endorsement deals, legal support, time management and networking opportunities. Godfrey shares his wealth of expertise with practical examples of how he assists players in navigating the complex world of professional football. Welcome, Godfrey.
Hi there, Richard. No, thanks for having me.
We're going to discuss football agents and how they can help players. And you started, first of all, we'll start off on your career. So you started out at Chelsea's academy, didn't you?
Yeah, so I joined there sort of age 12 after, I think we just won the Middlesex Cup at my school. And me and a friend got asked to join. So I was there at age 12, and went through the age groups and then to the youth team. Under Graham Ricks at the time, and Glenn Hoddle was the first team manager. So I had a bit of a period where I maybe made a few mistakes and left. I kind of chose to not sign my schoolboy forms actually, which was a lot because of advice I was given by my Sunday team manager actually to not sign them, which was a mistake looking back. But I didn't really know the big picture. But then I went back. Fortunately, it allowed me to come back to fight my way back in when it was scholar age groups, sort of under 16 to scholar age groups, and I played in the youth team as well.
So now you've transitioned over the last few years into sports management and being a sports agent. So do you think, looking back, if you had some different advice when you were, say, younger at that period, do you think you might have chosen a different route?
I think if I probably had the right advice, I probably would have had a career at Chelsea. I think I was really doing well there. And I was sort of like top goal scorer in my age groups. And I was sort of, talked to and talked of as one of the bright talents there. So I think me not getting the right advice and the right help changed the course of my life and my career. However, that's why I got into do what I do now. So I think, me not becoming a fully fledged professional footballer, I used the disappointments and maybe the bad advice and certain career choices to now try and help young players and their families make the right choices. And I think in all experiences you have in life, you can use them for positive. And that's what I've managed to do with what I do now.
Yeah, I think you beat me to the punch there. That was my point. So perhaps that inspired you to, with those decisions that you made earlier on, that perhaps given the guidance and support, say, of a representative may help guide someone to fulfill their potential and get more opportunities. Would that be fair?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Okay.
So now you're a director at your company, Ask Godders. I like the name, by the way, Ask Godders.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. So, Ask Godders has sort of generally been, it started off as a PR company doing PR for sports people and footballers, but it's now evolved and now we sort of own a new branch of the company which is called AGM Sports, which is the football and sports agency side of the company. So that's a sort of new company that we've got with the players on board.
Brilliant. So I'm just going to go through a few things now on how having an agent or representative or negotiator, how that can help players. So Rio Ferdinand is an advocate for agents, and he said it's something that's invaluable for a footballer in terms of endorsements, contracts, public image, and support, basically. And looking further into it, if we were to say, well, why is that important? There's good evidence to say that it can help players with their performance in terms of contract negotiation, career guidance, sponsorship, legal support, time management, and networking. So if we could just go through those points, and then if you could just you tell us what you think about that. So in terms of the first point, negotiation, so that may improve players' financial well-being, satisfaction, engagement, and their performance. How do you think that can help a player? And then just before on that point, I'm just going to use one example in terms of a negotiation where an agent has helped a player. So it was someone that I played with, you may know him, Carlos Arbor at Brentford. So
Yeah.
you know Carl.
The striker.
So
Met him before. The striker scored a lot of goals. Yeah.
Exactly. So at the time, he got picked up from Dulwich Hamlet, and he worked hard. I have to take my hat off to him. He worked really hard. Got himself playing in the first team. Got a move to Reading. I think it was for about 800,000 at the time, which was quite a bit of money back then. And I remember his agent going in and speaking to Reading. And Carl at the time, he told the story. He said he went in there and they offered him wages, and he was like, "Oh wow, I'm trebling my wages from where I'm at Brentford." But the agent actually said, "No, you're worth more than that." So I think he got him a better deal, maybe 2 or 3 times as much as what he was worth. So in terms of a financial benefit, he benefited from having a representative.
Yeah.
So in terms of contract negotiation, have you got any examples like that in terms of not just the money side of it, but I suppose support?
Yeah. I mean, I think contract negotiations can be quite tense and a lot of pressure for players to be dealing with by themselves, for one. I mean, look, sometimes if it's your first contract as a young player, depending on where you are in the pyramid of football, but generally the first contracts are quite basic and quite simple. So that might be simple. But then again, if you're a really big talent and, you know, you've got clubs chasing you, you kind of need someone to navigate those situations and then potentially leverage your talent and how well you're doing and the fact that you are very sought after to try and get you the best deal. I think you do have some people that say, "Oh, players don't really need agents," and maybe in some odd circumstances for some deals they may not. But generally, I think agents offer great value if you get a good one. You know, dealing with your contract, it's very hard for players. You know, they're very young, and for them to really know how to deal with the club. Sometimes they don't know whether, because I always say to people, it's like, as much as you're an employee of the football club, and obviously they're trying to look after you and help you so you perform well, ultimately, when it comes down to the contracts, if they can get you at a cheaper deal, then they would, right? So at the end of the day, having someone that's on your corner, an advisor and an agent that's there to try and get you the best deal for you, is massively important. So yeah, it's a big factor, and you know, there's been multiple situations that I've been involved in that if the client I've had didn't have someone that spoke for them or spoke on their behalf, or was sometimes maybe a bit aggressive in a professional manner, or patient in the right way, because sometimes it's patience, it's not signing something that's offered straight away, and it's being patient, where some players, if without the right advice, they can be impatient and they just take what's in front of them. So 100% having a good agent is a big factor to players in a short career trying to get the best situations for them.
Yeah, and I think having a third party involved, say if you're negotiating a contract, the player dealing directly with the club, having a third party there can kind of take you out the loop a little bit. So it looks as though you're not asking for it, and the club, you're worried about their perception of you and so on. But by having a third party, and also biding your time with that as well. So the player may be like, "Right, I want this deal done," whereas the agent saying, "Hold on a minute, you know, take your time with this. There may be a better offer, or just hold. Let's get the right deal for you right now." Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so the next point is career guidance. So that can affect confidence, your motivation, but also in relation to your athletic performance. So in terms of an agent, how you see it, Godfrey, in terms of career guidance, how do you see an agent's role with that?
Again, I think every agent, with some agents, you get different types of agents. So you get some agents that maybe they've played the game a bit before and they can advise you a bit on things you could be doing on the pitch, off the pitch, how to be around the club and all those things. And you get some maybe agents that they've not played the game before. Maybe they come from a business background or legal background, and they may be able to advise you just on certain life skills. But I think, you know, ideally you're fortunate if you get someone that's got a bit of a 360, that's maybe played the game but also has an understanding from the business side, so they can advise your career from that point to a degree. But I think having someone there that you can talk to outside of the club, also outside of maybe your parents as well, that can give you advice or that you can bounce off how you're feeling, is massive. You get some clubs that will say they'll sign someone at a scholarship age and say, "Oh, you don't really need an agent at that age." But again, I think even when you're 16, 17 and you're navigating that scholarship age, which can be, it's a big change for a lot of players to be going into somewhere full time. They might face certain difficulties while they're at the club, and having an agent that can help you through those times, that you can give you advice. They may have been in the same situations themselves, so they can help you if you're having, maybe you might have difficulties with a coach at some point, whatever it might be. I think having someone that can guide you is a big plus as well. Again, it needs to be a good agent that can advise you in the right way, because you could go the wrong agent and they could be giving you bad advice, which happens as well, and you can end up making wrong decisions. But if you get someone that's good and can give you good sound advice, and someone that can listen to you outside of the club and also separately from your parent, I think again it's a plus to your career.
Yeah, definitely. And relating back to your career then, so when you're playing, do you think that helps you communicate with your players and have empathy for them or understand their situation a little bit more?
Yeah, again, 100%. I think I went through highs, I went through difficulties and lows. I think the fact that I went through multiple situations like that, and quite a few disappointments, it definitely enables me to be able to talk with players, because I think from the outside, people just see footballers and think, right, flash, money, but I don't realise it's a very pressurised job, and scrutinised job to be in. And yeah, if you do really well, you get to the top end, you earn unbelievable finances. But for a lot of these young guys or young girls to be in this profession, it's very highly pressurised. So them being able to talk to someone that can help them, that might have been through similar situations, is so invaluable. It might even be simple things like being out of a team and not getting picked. And obviously you're a professional footballer because you want to play. And sometimes going through a period where your club's not picking you, or, you're out of the squads. It's like going to work or something you love doing, but not being able to actually work. You become frustrated. But with football, because it's so high profile, even managing those scenarios where you're frustrated, if you don't deal with it correctly, it can become public, and all of a sudden you're seen as someone that's got a really bad attitude, and that affects your footballing career. So having people that you can talk to, that can give you advice about how to handle situations, how to handle disappointments, your frustrations, how to also be humble and handle things when it's going well. You get some players and families that as soon as it's gone well, or a little bit gone well, they jump like from 0 to 100, all of a sudden thinking that, the player is going to be the next big thing, and try to keep people also, which I think find one of the most difficult things in football, is people having realistic expectations of the next steps. You've got a dream and you've got to think big, but I think also you get the other side where you're always trying to make people take one step at a time. So having someone that's been there and can advise you in that way, because sometimes you jump too far ahead of yourself, you can come crumbling down very quickly. So I think from both sides, it's important to have someone that's ideally been around or been involved that can give you good advice.
I think you put that across really well, and I think that shows, your experience within the game. We're talking decades, aren't we? And know, from your playing to your dealings in terms of the agency, and so on. And yeah, I think that shows a really good understanding of
Thanks.
where the player is, and I suppose a global approach to that and how that's viewed. But you mentioned public image, which leads me then, Godfrey, onto sponsorship and endorsements.
Yeah.
So, it's the contracts that are involved with the high-profile players. You're talking hundreds of millions, aren't you, in terms of sponsorship deals, like with Adidas, Nike, and so on. If we use Messi, Haaland, Neymar's, and even going back to Eden Hazard's, there's a lot of money involved in there, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, especially now where footballers have become so global and there's so much more with the social media, there's so much more highlighting on players and people are able to see visibility so big. So I think for brands, it's great because with football being such a high profile game, with the individuals that are at the top being seen everywhere, where before the social media wasn't really there, or where it's just at its beginning, and now you've got general press, whether that's TV, radio, publications, but now you've got social media, which is massive. I think for brands, sports people and footballers, definitely in particular, it's something that they more so want to align themselves to, and it's a big part. Again, football, your career is very short. So one of the things I've always looked at, and I was fortunate that before I became an agent, I worked in PR and branding, and I got to learn a lot about how to raise players' profiles and what things to try and do to attract brands. And I realised the value in that before I even became a football agent, and it's massive. And with a short career, where you can, you have to try and maximise your popularity. And I think having the right people that can help you do that is a big thing. That's also to do with your image, how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself off the pitch. Because obviously brands, those are all things that matter to them. They all put contract clauses in their contracts as well with players and stuff, that if there's things that they do off the pitch or any way that they may damage the brand by something they've done, they can break the contract. So I think how you carry yourself, good publicity, those are all things that attract the brands, and sponsorship nowadays is big if you get to the top. So it's another important element to someone's career.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's another good global view of how that works. And then my next point here, Godfrey, is legal support. So do you have much to do with that in terms I'm guessing there's like legal support? I would say there's probably financial support as well.
I think it's important for agents to do what they know and what they're good at. And if their background or their qualifications aren't in a legal perspective, then of course it's important that they may have partners or people that they work with, companies that they could recommend to the players. At the same time, if a player has maybe, whether it's a financial or a legal lawyer or someone that they would choose to work with, then of course that's up to them and their choice as well. But where if you've worked with people known, a certain law firm or certain financial organization that you would recommend that can help your players, then that's obviously key. Again, because short career, I think financially, to get good financial advice, financial planning, helping you so you plan what you're getting in and what you're using, because it's very easy, as we all know, as people, you get money in, it's easy to just spend it out. And if you're getting loads in, you can easily end up spending way more than you need to. We've all probably fell to that at some point in our youth and as we've got older. But with football, where the money can go very sometimes quickly from earning £400 a week or £500 a week to earning thousands a week, it's key that from early, if you can get them aligned with good financial planners so they get good habits, it's better. Because listen, sometimes you often hear about it, there's so many players financially that after the game they get into financial problems and they might have earned lots of money. And the funniest thing, not funny, but one of the first things people say was, who was advising them? Or did they have a good agent? But the thing is, in some cases, the agent has told them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, listen, you need to do this, you need to do that. But sometimes, unless they get the right people around them early, the habit's already there. And I've had players that I've told them, set them up with bank managers, and got them set up where they've got their own direct debits, and they just ignore you. Do you know what I mean? And then later down the line, they may be in problems, and then people will look at it and go, "Oh, didn't they have someone helping them?" But sometimes they just did. They just maybe didn't want to listen. So I think the earlier you can get people in good habits, the better. And that's also through life experience. Like I said, even myself, I've had to try and learn good habits myself. So I think if you get people that are advising you that have had life experience, then that helps.
Yeah, definitely learning from your mistakes, isn't it, and putting that across to someone, and trying to advise on perhaps on the things that you could have done better. I think life teaches us that, doesn't it, a little bit. Okay, then in terms of time management, that can help for optimizing sports performance in terms of focus on training and recovery. Do you have much to do with that?
So not really myself, but again, that's another key element, and that's probably where I would maybe speak with people that are more in that field of expertise that can advise the players or talk to the players about those sort of things, their mental or said time management, what they're organising themselves well. Yeah, there's obviously things that as an agent you're going to tell them to be doing, that will help their career. What they do after training, like times, even basic things like what times you go and sleep. Right, nightclubbing scene in London's not where it used to be, but that used to draw a lot of players out during the week. So making sure they're doing the right things at the right times, and it's all big things towards having a higher level of performance in training and in matches.
So I guess that's like being on time, getting to bed at the right time, looking after yourself, being respectful, and then I think that's kind of where that point is.
Yes.
And then the last one is networking. I think that's probably a large part, I would say, and a valuable part of what you offer. So the network, and your network, if you like, your access to people and resources, so whether that be financial, legal, promotion. That's how I probably see that as probably one of the most integral parts of being an agent, would be the networking aspect of it. Would that be fair?
Again, I agree. I think it's like I always say to people, prospective clients or people that are talking to me, I think the key things you want when you're looking for an agent is there's maybe three, I think, core components. Like one, you want to try and take your time and work out, are they a good person? So it's hard to work that out, but you've got to try and get that feeling of, do they seem like good, genuine, trustworthy people? Then the second one is, do they have the network? Because if you get a good person, but they don't have the network, they might be a good person, but they can't really help you because they ain't got the network. And the opposite, if you get someone that's got the network, but then they're not really a good person, then maybe later down the line, they're going to make choices for your career that are maybe more for them than they are for you. Or they may not advise you in the right way. So I think if you can get those two components, and obviously having a network and being good at what you do. So if you can kind of get those three things, and you'll find a number of agents out there that do have that, and you get a good connection, then it's better to kind of work with that one person and ride through it and go with them. But you definitely, having a strong network is key, because, you're going to have players that go through different stages in their career where they need a lot of help with regards to, it might be a transfer, or they've gone through a difficult season and then they need more work than what they might need. If a player's flying and everything's going well, then the attention comes to them. So it's easier to whether you're moving them or negotiating a new contract, it might be a bit easier. But where maybe they've gone through difficulty, or maybe they've got released out of their contract and they've not had a good season and they've not really made a big name yet, that's where you need someone with a bit of skill, endeavour, relationships to try and get you another move. So and then again, there's deals that come to sometimes players and agents that if you don't have someone that you feel is trustworthy, they could end up trying to push you towards a wrong deal, that might be more financially beneficial for them, which has happened. Where I always think you've got to put the players first and what is right for them, and in the long run, you normally not only get good credibility as an agent, and hopefully the players are loyal with you when you make those choices. They're not always, but long term, you get the right name for doing the right things. So you definitely, you need someone that's got good network here and abroad, ideally, for a company that's got that to try and make sure you maximise the potential avenues for your career.
Yeah, perfect. And I think trust is a big thing, isn't it? And the building that relationship, with the trust for each other. And if I look back on my career, I would say in terms of agents, the financial aspect of it, the negotiations, say the sponsorships, the networking, they're all probably things that can optimise your choices in terms of what you've got available to you, and it just sort of broadens your perspective, I suppose, in certain parts of that. And then just in terms of, say, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they, if they wanted to speak with you, how would they do that?
You can get in touch with us. We're on all socials. Our websites are just relaunched because we relaunched the new brand AGM Sports, so that will be up for August. But there's email, you can get in touch with us at info@askgodders.com. That's a generic email. And then on socials, on our socials, you've got Arts Godders, and then you've got AGM Sports. Those would be the main ones in terms of the agency and football or sports related work in that respect. And always happy to see where we can help, whether it's prospective new clients, and obviously we've got other things that we do for younger players. We've got an academy for out of contract players or players that are aspiring to play as high as they can. And that starts from like under 15s to under 21s, and that's called AG Football Academy. So we're on all socials as well. We're always open to try and find talent and try and help players get a second chance, or it might be their first chance at professional football. So we organise a lot of games against professional academies, and they take players on trial, and we do big showcases, and we invite scouts, and that's another way of them being found by football clubs. So we've got other avenues for aspiring players as well, aspiring professionals.
Brilliant. And having played with yourself, you were always good for a goal as well, weren't you? Always good for a goal, Godfrey.
I didn't score as many as I would like to be fair. I think you were scoring more than me, mate. So he's definitely scoring more than me. I think Ed had me playing all different positions. I think I found myself at sweeper at one point.
I think you were.
Yeah, and I actually enjoyed it, to be fair. It's good days. I mean, again, it's like you look at it, it's such a contrast from like professional football in those environments, but at the same time it was fun, and again, like now another aspect which maybe we taught on more, like I've gone back to Harrow, my academy now run their 18s and under 23s, and if you'd told me back then when we was like 21, 22, 23 that I would 24 years later or so be still in affiliation with the club and working with their 18s and 23s and try to help young players get into the first team or beyond, I wouldn't have really seen that. So it's another, and us even talking again, like, that connection was made over 20 years ago. So it's crazy, isn't it? It's scary actually how old we're getting, but it's all beautiful things, and it's just how your career can pan out, and those relationships come within football. So it's a beautiful thing.
Agree completely, Godfrey. That's the networks that we've set up, the relationships that we built. I think football is great for that, isn't it? In terms of building relationships and friends and so on. Definitely. But just to summarise on here, today we discussed how agents can help players optimise their performance through contract negotiations, career guidance, sponsorship endorsement, legal support, and time management, and it all with a view of optimising player performance and basically getting the best out of them. So thank you for your time and your insights today. Really appreciated.
No, thank you. It's been brilliant coming on, and really appreciate you wanting me to come on as well and share. So no, thanks, and wishing you all the best with it too.
Good man. Good man.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Godfrey.
Nice one.
Utter worldie.